catching this replay. I'm going to get started in just a second. Just got to get my logistics together. If you are watching the replay, comment replay underneath this post so I can come back and say hi to you. And thank you for watching, of course. All right. Happy Thursday. Aw, miss you too. Thank you so much. Okay, let me get my chat box and then I'll get started. Happy Thursday, everyone. How's your day going? All right, we lit it. We out here. Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. Hi again. Thank you for tuning into my session. Happy Thursday. Let me know down in the comments how you're feeling today, what you're working on today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself while folks are jumping on the stream. My name is Kashira. I am an international board certified success coach. I specialize in helping emerging and experienced coaches learn how to brand, launch, and scale an aligned coaching practice. You can learn all about me at thepowercollective.co. In today's session, I want to talk to you about confidence. So, the title of this session is The Secret to Irresistible Confidence That No One Talks About. Interestingly enough, in order for us to explore this secret to having this irresistible confidence, we have to talk about the other side of that coin. What we're experiencing instead of irresistible confidence and where that is coming from. And as always, with any of my talks, take what you need, leave what you don't. If it don't apply, it's not your memo, okay? But let's talk about it. So, and you can definitely be honest with me in the chat. Do you feel like you lack confidence when it comes to your business and how you show up? Do you feel like a lack of confidence holds you back? And I bring that up because you guys know that I'm always in reflective mode, especially when I think about the discovery calls and consultations I've had with entrepreneurs of all ages, all demographics, right? Races and gender, as well as experience levels. One big thing that kept coming up is not feeling confident enough, right? I've had people literally say, I've had this idea for this project. I've been thinking about it for a year, for 2 years, but I'm just not confident enough to move forward on it, right? Like I've been constantly doing research, but I just don't feel good. Or, I wasn't even confident enough to book this call with you. So I waited for so long. And now I just decided to jump out, right? So I want to talk to you about where that comes from. And a lot of it stems from a couple different things. First and foremost, when we think about the online space and the people that we follow, and this is not by the fault of people that we follow, but we get this interpretation that everybody else is just so confident and so effortless online. And we are creating our own interpretation of what's happening with them and what their life is like, and feeling like, I just want to be that effortless. Like, can that be me? How can I do that, right? And then it manifests itself in the imposter syndrome, which we talked about on Tuesday. If you haven't caught that session, make sure you go back and listen to that. It manifests itself in comparison syndrome and all of these different things that just result in us beating up on ourselves or doubting ourselves. And for some people, it doesn't show up as something that's conscious. For some people, it shows up as this addictive pattern of busying yourself, right? And saying that, oh, I can't move forward with this idea or this project or this launch or whatever it is you've been hesitating on, because you still have to finish other things. You still have to work on the website, or you still have to hire somebody else. You have to do all of these things, and we have this busy work, and we're using this busy work as a crutch so that we don't have to go out and do the thing that we're not confident enough to do, the thing that we fear the most. And it's crazy how that is such an addictive pattern to the point where we don't even recognize it. We just say we're a hard worker. We just say I'm a perfectionist. We just say, oh, we're just not ready because we don't have X, Y, and Z, right? Those things can manifest when we lack confidence, right? We're never finishing what we start. Is anyone like that, where you have a project or a deal, or you're working through a launch, but the launch never gets finished? The project never comes to light. Or worse, you finish it, but you never sell it, right? Like you've built a whole course, or you wrote a whole book, created a whole coaching program, and then sat on it, right? That can actually manifest that can actually be a sign that you have a lack of confidence on the inside, and is manifesting by the lack of work being produced up front. And of course, on the opposite side of that, we want to experience that confidence, that fearlessness that we assume everybody else has, which, newsflash, there is no such thing as fearlessness. Everybody has fears. Everybody has nerves. That is not a thing. I don't care how many boss babes and girl bosses tell you the fearless is a thing. It is not, right? We want to have that conviction. And this is the big thing about how I coach. You're going to have nerves and butterflies, right? But if you build your program, your coaching program, or whatever you're trying to sell in the right way, right? With the goal of helping people, with the goal of driving results, or just the goal of throwing something out there, and you have conviction that what you are teaching is right, right? You have the experience, you know it's right, then you can move forward still having those nerves and those butterflies, right? You can develop more confidence as you continue to get experience. The problem is a lot of people lack conviction. A lot of people are uncertain about what they're teaching. And I don't think it's because we're not experts or we don't have the right experience. I think it falls into two buckets. I think it falls into some kind of limiting belief some people have about just not being good enough, which could be tied to previous life experiences. Or you fall into the bucket of you are actually sitting on your life's purpose and you are instead following the crowd. What that looks like is, for example, this is the most common thing I see. Instead of pursuing the path you know you should be on, right? Maybe that path is spiritual coaching, life coaching, whatever, because that's what you are truly called to do. That's what you're good at. You've been doing this for free with your friends and family, but you feel like, well, I don't see this as often online. I don't think it's going to make any money. I feel discouraged. I'm going to start off doing what I see everybody else do. I'm going to go and be a business coach. I'm going to teach people how to make sales or build a brand, even though I haven't done it myself. And then when you haven't done that, when you're just doing the thing that everybody else is doing because you think it's easy, or worse, somebody else told you that that's what you should do, you're going to experience so much of the things I talked about, right? The doubt, the fear, the feeling like a fraud, the imposter syndrome, and the comparison syndrome. And even if you do continue to take that action anyway, it's not going to go away. And that's another hard pill to swallow that unfortunately we have to have the conversation about, because when you're sitting on your life's purpose and you're actively choosing, you are actively making the choice to go against that, that is going to be painful. That is going to not feel good. That is no way going to be comfortable for you, right? So I encourage you, if you know that you're not on the path you've been called to, when you know, because you hear it in your head, your intuition is telling you we should be doing this other thing, but then you immediately respond to that voice by saying, I'm not really sure, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just saying, right? So why are we experiencing this, right? Why does this, it sounds like something, when I talk through this, right, it sounds like something we can easily just make a decision to go against. But when it's a recurring pattern, and notice I used the word earlier, addictive pattern, it is hard to break. You do have to actively focus on doing this. But in order for us to break it, we have to understand it. So why are we experiencing this lack of confidence in the first place? It could come from a couple of different things. It can come from, I already talked about, one, following a crowd, right? Going against your life's purpose. It can come from previous life experiences, right? It can come from things that were said to you or done to you by family, friends, colleagues, peers, whatever else. It could come from previous, I would say, failed projects. I don't want to use the word failure, but we grown, right? Some stuff just didn't work, right? And we know that failures are lessons learned, but let's be honest. Something that we really put our all to that did not work can cause us to have this doubt. It can actually be hard to get back up and dust yourself off, even though when you choose the path of entrepreneurship, unfortunately, like, that's just the way of the game. Everything you do isn't going to work. As I drink my celery juice, everything you do is not going to work. That's just period, point blank. But we have to acknowledge that that could be something that is contributing to how we feel. It could be because of media, right? This concept is, if you are someone who is in like a faith-based niche or a spirituality-based niche in particular, and while this can apply to anybody, people in these areas I feel like struggle with this the most. You've been conditioned to believe that making money is bad. You've been conditioned to believe that you need to just effortlessly serve and hope to be rewarded, even though that's not really what the Bible says at all. But you have this, you've been kind of, this thing has been sewn into your brain that this is a bad thing, right? It could also be misinformation when people tell you, be humble, don't be cocky. And so now we have this like cognitive dissonance around how confident is too confident. And I would argue, just be you, be your natural confident self. If somebody says to you, you're doing too much, then those are their own insecurities coming forward. Because in real life, if you are just a confident person, the confident does not mean you're just boasting and bragging and this and that. It means you're comfortable in your own skin and your own body and with your own expertise. You're comfortable with what you offer. You're comfortable with your business. You're comfortable like this. That's what that means. And other people who lack confidence, who have real insecurities, are threatened by that stability. So they're going to come for you anyway, right? So why hide your own genius, hide your own brilliance to make somebody else who's already miserable feel comfortable, right? So let's talk about it. What is the secret to this confidence? What is the secret to doing this work? The big thing that people tend to not talk about as much with confidence, and let me backtrack. When people talk about confidence, they typically talk about the physical actions you should take, which is not bad, right? It's not bad, it's not wrong. But they talk about the physical actions you should take. And it'll sound something like, oh, sit up straighter, dress like you care about it, do your hair. These are all great things. These are things that I believe and I subscribe to. But I do feel like that's like, what's a good example that's not like offensive? That's like trying to, if you have a bullet wound, that's like putting a band-aid on it versus taking the bullet out, right? It's like at some point, like you gotta get that out because the wound literally cannot heal. At least according to Chicago Med. I don't know. If you're a doctor and that's false, just go along with me, okay? I feel like y'all get where I'm trying to go with that analogy. I didn't finish my celery juice, so I'm not as witty as I otherwise would be, but it's almost the weekend, okay? So, the secret to this irresistible confidence, write this down, is learning how to release judgment. The secret to irresistible confidence is learning how to release judgment. Judgment is separation from our true selves. And this looks like judging both ourselves and others. When we do either one, they both feel really uncomfortable. Why? Because we are separated from our true self and our true nature. When we are actively judging ourselves, when we are actively judging others, we are no longer in alignment. We are no longer in tune with our higher selves. We are no longer connected to God. Right? When we learn how to release judgment, it opens up this whole new view and this whole new perspective. Because think about what I said previously, right? When somebody severely lacks confidence, they begin to project. And they project by saying, you're too cocky, right? You do too much, right? They start making up false assumptions about you. And at some point, people don't want to say it out loud, at some point in our lives, we've judged somebody at least once, right? We've made assumptions about people at least once when it was in real life our own insecurities being projected, right? So when we think about all those times that we've done that, that has not actually felt good. We thought it would, but it actually did internally. And these are all discussions that we're having within ourselves, but it's true. So if we learn how to release that judgment against others, in real life, we're releasing a judgment against ourselves, which is now creating more space and opportunity for us to get in alignment, be true with ourselves, and actually feel good and confident about moving forward with our dreams and our businesses. And again, this does not mean there won't be nerves. This does not mean there won't be butterflies. That is never not going to be the case. But there's a difference between, oh, gentle butterflies in my stomach. This is something I've never done before. Oh my God. And that crippling anxiety of, I can't do this. This is not going to work. I'm not ready. So I'm going to just go back to my addictive patterns of busy work. And I'm just going to stay over here and continue to wait. Right? So I want to give you some quick steps, some things you can get started on to release judgment. This is a longer process, but I do want to get you started. If you want to go deeper with me on releasing judgment and shifting your limiting beliefs, welcoming prosperity into your life, I do encourage you to register for Saturday's class. It is called Manifest Your Power, the Daily Habits and Mindset Rituals of Powerful Women. It is going down live this Saturday, April 17th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link to register is in my bio and in the title of this video. If you can't make it live, but you want to come, when you buy your ticket, you will get lifetime access to the replay, lifetime access to the 70-plus page workbook, and you get 3 additional bonuses. I put the finishing touches on the slide deck yesterday, and we have some really great work to do, okay? Like, this is not going to be the kind of class where you come and sit. And I'm just saying that because that's what you expected. Just watch the replay, honey, because we're going to actively do some work together on rewriting our story, like literally doing the work to identify these beliefs, replace these beliefs, and rewrite our narrative. So if that's something that you need, if you know intuitively, right, that you know you've been in your own way, if you know that you are a victim of self-sabotage, if you know you've been procrastinating on bringing your dreams to life, this is the class for you. Now, this is probably going to feel uncomfortable for you. I will say that, to even raise your hand and say, I need this. But this is going to be the first step in a very beautiful journey. So again, bit.ly/manifest your power. Let's get into our three steps. Okay, so the first step to releasing judgment is acknowledging the judgment and viewing the judgment without judgment. How many times can I say judgment? Basically, what this means is you want to start to be more conscious and more present and be able to catch yourself in the process. This is not so that you can beat yourself up. This is not so that you can pretend like it never happened. This is so that you can begin to figure out what your triggers are, right? So if you know you felt judgment yesterday, it's actually going to be really hard for you to call that back and remember what kicked it off. It's easier to do it real time than it is to do it historically. So in order to actually catch yourself and acknowledge the judgment and view the judgment, you have to be way more present. You have to actually practice mindfulness. Those 2 topics alone are videos, and you can definitely start to do some research up until Saturday's class, which we'll talk about it a little bit more, but you have to be a little bit more present. And so one easy thing to do is start to just build in breaks throughout your day where you're doing some intentional breathing, some prayer, some meditation, but something, because that's going to be a really good place to start when it comes to being more present, right? So a really good book that I recommend is called The Power of Now. It's a very intense book. It's a serious read. I would only grab it if you're ready for a shift, because it's excellent, but it's all about being in the present moment. The second thing you want to do after you've witnessed the judgment, right, and you've notated what the triggers are, you want to explore those triggers and figure out where they're truly coming from. So triggers are going to be tied to past experiences in some form or fashion. Again, and we talked a lot about life experiences on Tuesday, so catch that video. But really understanding, where is this coming from, right? Are you triggered by this thing because a couple years ago an old friend told you X, Y, and Z, and you didn't let that go, and now you're holding on to it? Again, in this moment, you are not trying to judge yourself. We are not here to question and judge, why didn't I let that go? Why am I holding on to it? Everybody's journey is their journey, and everybody's healing journey is their journey. And what affects one person in a negative way may not impact another. So in this case, this is something that you personally have to do, because you have to start to dig deep and uncover, what am I still holding on to, so that you can start to release that baggage over time. And the third step and the final step is starting to cut ties with these experiences. And there's a couple of different ways to do this based on, honestly, your comfort level and how you want to move about it, right? So, this is something that if you've never done it before, you may want to work with a therapist to talk about the best way for you to cut ties with these experiences and heal. You can work with a life coach, you can work with the NLP expert because there's different techniques within time techniques that can help you with that. You can see if old-fashioned journaling is working for you, where you like, one thing that I like to do is I'll write letters, right? If I find that something is connected to a person, I write a letter and I put it in a box and that just gets it out, right? So just, there's a couple different ways that you can do additional research on that. I don't want to like lead you down a certain path. Just know that there's a bunch of different ways, but depending upon the severity of the experience, I definitely would consider leveraging some kind of expert help, like a therapist, a counselor, a life coach, an NLP expert, something along those lines. And again, on Saturday, we are going to go a lot deeper into how to identify limiting beliefs, identify where they're coming from, and how to shift them. So if you do want to get started on this experience, register for Manifest Your Power. I pray that this class, this training was helpful for you today. And with that, I will talk to you all in